Hyenas are a weird yet awesome animal for sure, being a bunch of dog cat fellas that crush bones with their powerful bites. Except aardwolves. They like bugs. And although today hyenas live in India, Pakistan, the Middle East, and most notably Africa, hyenas used to have a far larger range, including Europe, more of Asia, and even North America. And even though hyenas are said to have gone extinct long ago in America, Native American stories and reports from people as recent as 2021 seem to imply that hyenas may still call our continent home. Welcome to Cryptid Corner, a series about all things cryptids, and today we're going to take a look into American hyenas. Now, before we get into all of the accounts and the legends of American hyenas, let's look at the hyenas that we do know lived in North America. Today, we only have about 4 remaining hyena species, with only one of them being vastly different from the others in the form of the aardwolves. However, we know at least 80 species of hyenas have existed throughout the dozens of millions of years they've been around. And one genus of hyenas that was super successful was Chasmoporphytes. I got that on the first try. Or the running hyenas. Quick aside, but these hyenas are sometimes referred to as hunting hyenas, and that's kind of insulting, as hyenas are extremely skilled hunters, with a vast majority of their food being hunted food and not scavenged. They truly are a victim of misinformation. Despite what you may think, these hyenas were notably different from the bone-crushing hyenas of today, lacking their trademark hunched posture and awkward gait when running, possessing a build more similar to that of a cheetah, with a slender frame and a long, robust limbs used for sprinting after their prey. But these running hyenas had a vast range, with species being found in Europe, Africa, Asia, and a species found in North and Central America called Chasmoporphytes ossifragus. I messed that one up. Known as the American hyena. These hyenas were able to reach North America about 5 to 1.5 million years ago by crossing the Bering Land Bridge, and can be found as north as the Arctic Circle and as south as Mexico and Florida, showing an extreme level of adaptability, especially in the harsh cold of Ice Age North America. The American species possess the cheetah-like frame of its relatives and robust jaws equipped for slicing flesh and eating like a wolf, while still possessing enough power to crack bone, being even less of a scavenger than modern hyenas are, while still possessing the ability to do so in dire situations. American hyenas are thought to have been more solitary than spotted hyenas, preferring to live in tight-knit groups of about 2 to 3 individuals, also like cheetahs. But despite these creatures being so widespread across the continent, they would go extinct around 500,000 years ago, most likely due to a combination of climate change and being out-niched and out-competed. For starters, the cheetah-like hyena would have probably had a horrible time competing with the American cheetah, which stayed around until about 12,000 years ago. And even outside of the speedster niche, these hyenas were outcompeted by predators such as saber-toothed cats, American lions, modern cougars, terror birds, extant bear species, and social hunters like gray and dire wolves. And even though these specialized animals still had bone-crushing power, they would have had to have competed with the last of the bone-crushing dogs and the monstrous Arctodus, the giant short-faced bear of America. And due to this change in climate, these hyenas seemingly vanished. But what if they didn't? What if these hyenas managed to adapt and evolve to the American wilderness? The native peoples of the Iowa, Oto, and other Siouan tribes that call the Great Plains of the Midwest home have told tales of a creature known as the Shunka Warakin. It has an IN at the end, but I heard that it's just an E, the N is silent. But The name roughly translates to carrying off dogs or the dog stealer. The Shunka Warakin is described as a huge wolf-like creature with pitch black and sometimes reddish fur, along with different striped or spotted patterns, shining yellow eyes, and a distinct hunched posture, with a hyena-like head being described as a mix between a wolf and a hyena. The Shunka Warakin is known for its intelligence, elusiveness, and cunning nature that has a hunger for livestock with a preference for dogs, stalking farmsteads in the dead of night and making light work out of any dog standing guard. People who claim to kill these monstrous animals claim that it had a human-like cry, or possibly a hyena-like cry. Now, the Shunka Warakin is a very interesting cryptid, which is very unlike other cryptids and mythological creatures, as several supposed specimens have been shot and captured, giving far more merit to this being an actual animal unrecognized by science. And one of the most notable specimens is the Ringdocus, or Ringdocus, the taxidermied remains of an unusual canid from 1886. According to the zoologist Ross Hutchins, his grandfather Israel Hutchins would discover the large black creature in the dead of night chasing the geese on his home in Montana. Israel would fire at the animal, missing his shot and scaring it into the night, being seen a few times down the valley some 15 miles away from his house, attesting to it being a well-traveled animal. The animal was said to have a more sloped posture in life, with high shoulders, and was seemingly friendly towards the family dogs. And on a January morning, Israel would be awoken by the dogs barking at the creature and rushing outside to take a shot, and this time he wouldn't miss. The Ringdocus would be taxidermized and donated to a museum that doubled as a store in Idaho, where the creature would gain its name along with other titles such as Goya Stinkidus, the Rocky Mountain Hyena, and of course, the Shunka Warakin. For a long period of time, the Ringdocus would seemingly disappear, being stashed away in the Idaho Museum of Natural History's storage until 2007, when Jack Kirby, no, not the comic book legend, apparently just someone of the same name, would track down the creature and would send it to the Madison Valley History Museum for testing. Although, as far as I know, no testing has ever been done on the specimen, with many conflicting accounts of who owns it and who is responsible for getting it tested popping up. Like, he was like, well, I can't get it tested, and the museum was like, no, he owns it, he's responsible for getting it tested or whatever. It's just been a back and forth. But one look at the creature kind of breaks the illusion, with many just writing it off as a poorly mounted coyote dog or a wolf, but let's save that for a little bit later into the video. But even outside of the Ringdocus, several other run-ins with wolf-hyena-like animals have occurred over the years across the United States and Canada, making the Shunka Warakin more real than we may have thought. In the 80s, during a cold winter month in Texas, a resident witnessed a large hyena-shaped animal running across the Texan wilderness, believing it to be the Shunka Warakin and claiming it closely resembled the Ringdocus mount. In the early 90s, a group of oil workers were driving a truck in Odessa at 9 p.m. when all of a sudden, a large hyena-like animal, estimated to be around 400 to 500 pounds, would attack their truck, biting the tires and retreating into the wilderness. In 2006, in Garfield County, Montana, where wolves were hunted into oblivion, a large reddish-brown canine with stubby legs and a pointed face weighing about 106 pounds would kill an estimated 120 sheep, with bite marks on the sheep hinting at it being a dog, leading to wildlife officials eventually shooting the mystery animal from a helicopter. And despite the body being recovered and tested, the tests were unable to identify the animal, finding trace amounts of wolf DNA but not that of a gray wolf, and they did find some coyote DNA. In 2016, a police officer in Hockomock Swamp, Massachusetts, would encounter a massive hyena-like creature, claiming it to be about 7 feet tall if postured up. Again in 2016, there were stories of large hyena sightings in Pennsylvania, describing them as weighing about 200 to 300 pounds with brown and black fur. In 2018, yet another canine similar to the Garfield County canine would be shot on a ranch in Denton, Montana, with the specialists claiming that something was definitely off with the animal. And the animal would be tested, but we'll get to that later. Outside of Shunka Warakin sightings, there were also claimed sightings of just straight up hyenas, and this is at its core a hyena video, so I figured I'd include these in here too. In 1991 in Canada, several eyewitnesses described hyena-like animals in Alberta Wildlife Park pacing back and forth. In 2009, a pack of hyena-like animals would be spotted by Glenn Cunningham in New York, claiming that they closely resembled striped hyenas. And finally, in 2010, again in New York, this time at a deer and deck park, an animal was spotted chasing deer for days on end, with description fitting a spotted hyena. Now that we have a ton of hyena sightings and bodies to accompany what we know about the ancient hyenas that called our land home and the native legends of the Shunka Warakin, what can we make of it all? Well, let's start with Ringdocus. The account of the creature in life doesn't seem to match the mount at all, as the sloped posture seems to be completely absent in newer photos of it, although the old black and white photo does kind of seem convincing from its angle. The size of the creature also seems to have been a bit exaggerated, as the mount doesn't seem to be that large when side to side by this man right here. One thing I could think to explain this is that it was maybe a hyena that maybe the taxidermist messed up to make it look more dog-like. However, I know nothing about taxidermy, and I will not claim to know anything about taxidermy, so anyone in the comments, feel free to correct on this and maybe explain how it could have been a bad mount, but I have heard from a lot of accounts online this is a good mount, so feel free to comment if you're a taxidermist. Many people agree that the mount is a coy dog, a mix between a dog and a coyote. And just from looking up coy dogs, the second one that pops up matches it pretty much perfectly. This could also explain why the animal was so comfortable and friendly around the dogs. The whole testing dilemma also feels like an excuse to kind of leave it with an open ending. And now, onto the Shunka Warakin. I 100% think there is something substantial to this cryptid, and unfortunately, I feel hyenas just don't have anything to do with it. At least the Montana cases, at least. In a tragic twist, I kind of think that these creatures could have been the very animals or the descendants of them that forced the American hyenas into extinction. That being the dire wolf. These creatures, either being the descendants of dire wolves or perhaps even bone-crushing dogs if you're really feeling wacky, not only sounds cool, but has given the inconclusive results from the 2006 wolf gives it a bit of merit. Like, I think there's something going on with the '06 wolf in particular. And if it was a wolf dog or a hybrid of a known species, I feel the test would have found it to be more conclusive. The results of the 2018 wolf's test did come back, resulting in it being declared a gray wolf. Perhaps better testing protocol and better technology that was used in the 2018 case could have found the '06 wolf to be a gray wolf as well. But the wolf's identity is currently up in the air. But whatever the '06 wolf was, it could have been dispersed across the United States. But this isn't the wolf video, it's the hyena video. Perhaps the running hyenas of the Americas evolved to better suit their environment, and in the case of the Shunka Warakin sightings, its adaptation was to get jacked. Getting closer to reality, though, these sightings also just kind of seem like misidentified bear or wolf sightings, perhaps exaggerating these encounters to high hell, or perhaps the scattered remnants of whatever the '06 dog is. Regarding the more normal hyena sightings, the evolution theory actually holds a bit more merit to it becoming more like a normal hyena opposed to like a super duper hyena. Given how America has had some Africa-ass animals until relatively recently, perhaps the running hyena evolved to be more like the hyenas of Africa, some sort of form of convergent evolution. One theory you may have thought of regarding these sightings could be that they were from escaped zoos and private collections, though I looked into cases where hyenas escaped from zoos and private collections, and I found there were quite a few. But these escapes didn't correlate with any of these sightings mentioned in the video, and thankfully, most of the hyenas were returned safely and nobody was harmed. Except for a 2011 Zanesville escape in Ohio, which led to the hyenas sadly being shot. Ultimately, I believe these sightings to be misidentified sightings of coyotes or feral dogs with mange or some kind of wolf. Now, this video has been interesting to research for sure, as I thought it would just be a straightforward look into hyenas, and we'd find a couple sightings and write them off as misidentified coyote sightings or something, but I think there's something more to this. Even if it isn't a cheetah hyena, or a dire wolf, or even a hyena dog, or some magical dog-napping super predator, the '06 mystery wolf from Garfield, Montana is something special. These wolves, either a surviving lineage or a new subspecies of gray wolf, could very well have been the Shunka Warakin that the natives of the plains have had to fend off to keep their furry companions safe. I always like to go into these types of videos with a level head and a grain of salt, and in that vein, perhaps it was just a wolf dog or some bizarre gray wolf, or an error with the testing. But just dismissing something like this is how cryptids stay cryptids, and how new species fail to be discovered. Native legends, modern sightings, a full-blown specimen, I mean, what more could you want? Okay, a living specimen, yeah, shut up. But in the same vein, what about the American hyena? After all, it feels like they kinda got pushed aside with this '06 wolf. Sure, they could be hiding in the remote wilderness of our national parks, but if I'm to be brutally honest, these things went extinct well before man stepped foot in America. A new fossil discovery or an incredible zoological discovery could prove me wrong, but I don't think they're hiding in the dark nights cackling at us. But I think a super dog is, and it's waiting right in our backyards. And that's going to do it for the Shunka Warakin and the American hyena. This has been a fascinating video to research, as the Shunka Warakin sightings kind of completely almost derailed the video. I almost made it two different videos entirely, but I mean, I don't know, that '06 wolf sighting is just interesting, and I mean, like, I looked into several sources, and I really couldn't find anything more conclusive on it, and I'm not just looking in wikis here. I've looked at a New York Post article, and seemingly they never really thoroughly identified the thing, beyond finding some wolf DNA and coyote DNA. But nah, this has been a really interesting video, and I hope you enjoyed it, because man, this has just been a very interesting deep dive into the past and into this. I really like that, by the way. Let me know if you like the kind of merging of like paleontology like type stuff, like the history of the land, and then going into like native legends, and then going into like cryptid lore and all of that, because I that's the thing that I find the most interesting, how these legends could have stemmed from actual physical creatures. Merging the layers is just such an interesting thing to do. But anyways, I'd like to thank you for watching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you liked it. I don't know if that hype feature is going to drop by the time this video is out. If it is, hype it. I don't know how that's going to impact videos, but that is an interesting thing that I saw. I was like, I wonder if that could benefit me a bit. But anyways, yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.